Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming today. My name is Heidi Manlove. I'm with the Oregon Department of Transportation. I'll tell you a little bit more about my program here in a few minutes. We're partnering with Oregon Department of Education, or ODE. We have a few partners that we work with our Safe Routes to School projects. And though I have a co-host with me who is with the Oregon Department of Education, and it's Brock Dittis. And so we'll give him a little bit of time to introduce himself after I go. Brock, did you want to say hi to everyone?
Just wanted to say hello. I know that there are so many names I recognize from my dealings with transportation departments out there in the field. I am really excited about the opportunity to partner with the Oregon Department of Transportation. I'm so often mistaken as being one of your employees that I might as well be here, but it is nice to have a conversation and a collaborative relationship with the Department of Transportation on this Safe Routes to School program. Really glad to be involved and glad to be a part of the advisory committee. So yeah, just in words of welcome, I wanted to say we're really glad that you're here and look forward to sharing some information that hopefully will be helpful today.
All right, we have a few more people in the waiting room, so Kaylin and Emily are going to work to get these folks in. We have a lot of people joining us today, which I'm very excited about. Just so you guys know, we are recording this, and the beauty of recording it is we can share it after we're done. So we will be posting this on our webpage, which we'll be sharing with you, but we'll also be sending you a copy of it too, so you can share with your friends or partners that you work with. Also too, if you can just make sure to keep your microphone um, on, on mute and your camera off, that kind of helps to save our bandwidth. Um, and I think that's anything else I missed, Brock?
Good place to
No?
start. I know
Okay.
I don't like to show off my house because I just don't keep a very tidy house. So that's one good reason to keep your camera off. I'm not saying your house is messy, but if it is, that's an option. Yeah, let's get started.
Okay. Well, I always like to have my background on because I always show off some of our Safe Routes to School art contest winners who join in on our art contests statewide. So I always try to show those off. Um, but again, welcome. I'll get started. We wanted to make this open to anyone in Oregon who's interested in this information, but we specifically targeted education professionals, PTA members, Safe Routes to School coordinators, and just community and members who were interested in promoting safe and healthy ways for students to get to school. And so today we have some of our friends and partners that we invited to who are experts of how kids can get to school safely in other modes other than being driven by driven to school, so by their parents or guardians or anyone else. So we thought we'd offer this information for you. And so we have education and transit leaders throughout Oregon here today to show examples of creating healthy ways for students to bus, walk, bike, and take other modes of transit. So today, our goals are to welcome you, tell you a little bit about the ODOT Safe Routes to School program, and then also give you just a little bit of information about some alternative ways for kids to get to school. And our point to do this is to let you know that we exist if you didn't know already, and that we have resources if you didn't know we had those already, and that we're here to help you and support you in ways to encourage families to get to school safely and healthy. So we'll go over a few ways that we have to share with you today. And then we left quite a bit of time for question and answers. So if you do have questions, please just put them in the comments section, and we'll work to answer those during our question and answer session. And then lastly, I'll end with some information and resources that we can give you and pass along to you. So next slide, please. So the fall the fall part of the school year is important in lots of ways for safety in particular, especially this year after coming out of COVID-19 school closures and some hybrid schooling. A lot of schools are opening up full capacity again. And so we thought it was important with our partnership with ODE to highlight the importance of getting to school safely with using different modes, and how this can be done to help decrease congestion in pickup and drop off times, but also get kids more active and maybe have families participate more in active transportation. So our goals today is to have you learn about student transportation options and how you could possibly implement them in your districts or schools, and give you some key resources to promote these options with families and kids, and then also ways for additional support from our ODOT Safe Routes to School team. So next slide, please. So to give us some more information about who you are, we'd love for you to participate in our poll. So you should have a poll popping up on your screen, and please click on what you're represented the most. So you can click all that apply. So if you're a school staff member, but also a parent, please make sure to click all that applies.
It is fun to watch those answers come in because bars go forward and backward, and sometimes it seems like school district staff is winning, and sometimes it seems like local jurisdiction staff is winning. You're all winners in our book, know that. But as far as representation, I still see school district staff taking the lead.
Yeah, and we added the other section in last minute just because I had a feeling that we'd have some categories that we didn't quite list here. So it's good to see we have some folks filling that section in. So we have 32 of 56 folks voted. So anyone else? We have about a minute left to close the poll.
And it looks like right now coming in second is other. So if you're interested in sharing what the option is that you don't see on the screen, you can put that in the chat as well.
Yes. All right. Should we end the polling? Okay. So it looks like mostly school district staff. So great. Okay. Well, this is good. All right. Should we move forward to the next one then?
Well, let's do it.
All right. So please list where you're located. This is probably not one where you would select all that apply, right?
Right. Unless you travel a lot. And also, this is not an issue of winners or losers because we're here for the entire state. And I think it's probably obvious that the metro area and the Willamette Valley get a lot of press, but we are here to make sure that options exist for everyone statewide. And so
yes,
it is nice to see representation. Every one of those categories has at least someone here.
Yes. All right, I think we can close this poll.
Sounds good. We've got a lot of Willamette Valley participants, but we've also got some folks from southern, eastern, central Oregon out on the coast.
Nice. All right. So I think we'll finish up the poll here and move on to talking about the ODOT Safe Routes to School program. hold on one second here. Okay. So, so everyone, again, my name's Heidi Manlove. I am one of the ODOT Safe Routes to School program managers. I share this program with the lovely Leanne Ferguson. So she manages the construction side of the program, also known as the infrastructure side. And I manage the education side of the program. And so today's webinar is mostly based on the education side. So I'll give you a little bit of history of our program and then go into some important things that I thought would be neat for you to know if you didn't already. So we have, ODOT has funded Safe Routes to School programs since 2006 in some capacity. At first, we did have some construction projects and then was only funding the education side for a while. And now since 2017, with HB House Bill 2017, we now have funding for construction projects. And so Leanne Ferguson has taken the position on to help share this program with me. And so this picture to the right is one of our newest projects in Coos County, construction projects. So just to give you a little idea of our program, both of us offer competitive grant programs. And so we will be offering an open call for applications in January or February of 2022 for grants to start in the fall of 2022. So October 1 of 2022 for the federal fiscal 2023 year. And then Leanne, we're also working on a planning assistance where you would apply for planning assistance if you weren't quite ready for a competitive grant, where we have our technical assistance team come as contractors to help you plan for your projects. So these are all competitive grant programs that we have. We have more information on our website, which I'll share with you. But that gives you an idea. Largely, we do grant program management. Next slide, please. So a second part of my program is what we call the statewide services, which is also our technical assistance. So we have a technical assistance team that we work with, all great experts in Safe Routes to School programming and projects. And we are working on rolling out a new regional hub model this next year, which means more hands on the ground in our regions of ODOT. And so we have 5 ODOTs connected into 5 regions. And so eventually our goal is to have one technical assistance hub where they are planted in each of the ODOT regions to give more on the ground technical assistance. And so our technical assistance is basically folks who can help communities, help grantees, and help anyone who's interested in how students get to school safely. They can work with the technical assistance team to get advice and ideas of how to make things work, but also use them as a resource for materials, which I'll be showing you here in a moment. And so one of the materials that I think is really important to share with school district staff is our new Neighborhood Navigators 2.0. This is the second edition of our bicycle and pedestrian education lessons. And so these are aligned with state standards, so they could be used as some of the requirements for, let's say, PE teachers or health teachers to learn these lessons, and then which our technical assistance team can help train them on, and they can teach bicycle and pedestrian safety or scooter safety, let's say, in one of their classes. And so these are additional materials that you could use with some of your curriculum. And so with that, we're also going to be expanding our bike fleet loaner program, which is big news for our program. And so hopefully we will have at least one bike fleet in each of the 5 ODOT regions to loan out to schools who want to teach kids bicycle safety at their schools, so they could loan these bikes without having to manage or maintenance the bikes on their own. So this is big news for our program, which we'll be rolling out in the next couple of years. So next slide, please. Also, too, I wanted to alert you to some of the resources that we develop here at ODOT. We're constantly updating our materials and creating new ones. And most of our new materials all are translated into Spanish at the very least. We can also work on translating to other languages and updating materials. So we make things like coloring sheets, activity books. To the left here, you see our new comic heroes, Strider and Viv. We have 2 of the series out of the comic books, and these are kind of neat things to give out to kids. You may have seen them in your schools this past year. We also make handouts, educational handouts, and digital toolkits online. So this can all be found on our website, OregonSafeRoutes.org, and also on the ODOT website. So these are things that are free. And when I mean free, it's where you would fill out a little form and push a button, and that would send it to our ODOT storeroom, and they would be able to send you the coloring sheets or activity books that you need for an activity. So we would have our ODOT storeroom send them to you for free of charge. So I can give you more information of that. And so let's see, the next slide, please. Okay, and then lastly, I wanted to let you know about our back to school campaign. And this is a neat campaign. We do one every year where we do some sort of messaging to alert people driving, especially that school's coming back in, and to think about the areas that you live in and where you drive and your routes. But this year we're teaming up with Portland Bureau of Transportation, PBOT, and the Metro agencies to collaborate on a statewide campaign. So this one is called Drive Like It. So school routes are everywhere, and this is coming with a campaign messaging of thinking about students being out and about around back to school time, and that school routes are actually everywhere around the school. And so people driving need to be alert to that. So this is a combined campaign. We'll have a digital toolkit available for you, and we'll also have some lawn signs available. So we are working on that right now, the logistics for that, and we will have updates on this campaign in the next few weeks. And I will plan to send out email updates to the people who signed up for this webinar so that they also have updates on this campaign. So I can talk more about these items in the question and answer section. But I think for now we will move to our next speaker, Beverly. So I'm pleased to announce Beverly. She is recently retired, former Safe Routes to School coordinator from Klamath Falls. And we asked her to come here today to talk to us about public transit as an option for students to get to school safely. So welcome, Beverly.
Hello, thank you. Hi, everybody. I'm here to talk about the Meet the Bus program, which is a program that we did with a collaboration from our Basin Transit partners and also both our school districts, city and county. And the goals of that program was to connect elementary students with the joys of riding the bus, and also to give them an opportunity to learn about their neighborhoods via using the bus, and also allow them to experience actually getting on, using their token, pulling that great noisemaker that makes you stop for your bus stop. So it was an interactive learning experience. We were funded through a wonderful grant, a Transportation Options Innovative Grant through ODOT. And we had our in-kind partners from Basin Transit and also the school districts. So I think the most important thing about knowing about creating a program like this is that you really do have to have buy-in from your school districts. They can be the ones who can take care of making this a field trip kind of an event, because it is an hour, one time. We targeted second graders, and work with your school district so that they can get the permission slips done and make sure that teachers are on board and that you are able to schedule, because scheduling the bus driver and the teachers for second grade for 700 kids is a challenge, and you'll want to make sure everyone's on board with that. Your other in-kind came from our Basin Transit partners, wonderful people, and they provided both the city bus, also the bus driver to come into the classroom, and helped us with creating a Meet the Bus coloring book, which you can also find on our on the Safe Routes to Schools website. So basically, it's a classroom presentation. We spend about 15 minutes in the classroom. We bring the bus driver with us. The bus driver brings signs, and it's really good to have a big visual so children can see what the bus sign looks like. We bring the bus schedule. The bus driver talks about their expectations of how a person should behave on the bus. And of course, like with everything, when you hear it from the person who's doing the work, it's more meaningful. And he or she begins by asking questions. Who's ridden the bus? Who wants to ride the bus? Where can you go on the bus? Who knows some bus rules? And so it's interactive, and that's about 15 minutes. And of course, you want your teacher to stay in the classroom, and that's an expectation we have that we clear up at the beginning. And then the teacher lines up the children by twos or ones, and then we go out to meet the bus. And so the bus driver leads kids out to meet the bus. We give them a token. A tip is don't give them the token while you're doing the in-classroom presentation, because then they'll stop listening and play and throw them and drop them. And so we learned that right away. So as they're in line, you hand them their token. They actually get on the bus, put the token into the little token spot, and learn how to apply the learning they had in the classroom onto the bus ride. While we're on the bus ride, we're going around the school's neighborhood, pointing out different items, asking kids to point out their homes or their neighborhood grocery store or whatever we're going by. And then at the end, we ask for 2 volunteers, and those volunteers get to pull the string that allows the bus to stop back at school. We go back into the classroom, and then we hand out our color books. And the wonderful thing about working with your Basin Transit or your transit partner is they're able to give you a free pass so that kids can take it home, talk to their parents about what they've learned, show them the color book with all of the little rules and information about how cool it is to ride the bus, and then encourage their parents to go for a bus ride with them. We were able to give out a 10 bus ride free pass. And the thing that we loved about that was that it was a $15 value. And we think when things have value and you send them home with a child, the parent and the child's enthusiastic about riding the bus, then that might happen. A tip for anyone who wants to implement this program is that it did make tracking the use of the pass is difficult. So if I were to do this again, I would do something like a single pass that's for the student that can take his or her family on the bus, and that it doesn't have a limit. It's just a pass that they can take anyone they want on the bus for one time for a trip. And that way the bus driver can collect that. And that way we have an idea of how many students use the pass. And so that would be a tip. We really emphasize safety, of course. It's the critical part of our program. And we really want to encourage kids to, as they grow older, be able to use the bus or the bicycle, of course, to go to the theater or go visit their friends, to go to the movies with their family, to take their younger brother or sister out to the park, and to really let them know that the transit bus is a great way to go. And so if you have any questions or you'd like to know more about it, just ask me in the Q&A, or you can email me, or I will send the information to our host and they can get it out to you. Thank you.
All right, and I'll introduce myself again. My name is Brock Dittis. I work with the Oregon Department of Education in our Pupil Transportation and Fingerprinting Unit. And based on the names I've seen in the attendee list, many of you know me. Some of you may not. It's good to meet you. I began my career with school bus operations back in 2007. And just as a note of trivia, I had one of those walk and roll stickers on my water bottle back then in 2007. It feels like ancient history now. But I have been involved with school bus since then. I became a certified behind the wheel instructor for school bus and a core instructor in 2015. And then in 2018, I took a job with the Department of Education when my esteemed predecessor departed. So it is really nice, I think, to be involved in some of the inner workings of how the school bus system in Oregon works, the operations, and being able to offer support to local districts. One of the best parts of my job is being able to stay in touch with folks in the field and help them find the best route to success. So I don't need to tell many of you how school bus works. There are many questions, I think, in the larger culture of exactly how it works, what's going on. If it's not your job, you don't think about it too much. And if you don't have kids that ride the school bus, you don't think about it too much. The most exposure anyone who doesn't work in school transportation probably gets is stopping on the roadway when the red sign deploys and the red lights are flashing on the school bus. But I think it is, there obviously are a lot of nuances to the way the system works and the way that local districts operate. And so I'm heavily invested in making sure that everybody has the right information and, again, has the best route to success. So just in general, the school bus is the safest vehicle on the roadway. It meets very stringent federal, state, and departmental standards. So not only regular motor vehicle code, but also specific motor vehicle code. Well, it's not even motor vehicle code, it's departmental rule through the Oregon Department of Education to make sure that school buses match the high standards that we set to make sure that riders are safe. One thing that many of you are aware of is that maintaining staffing is a difficulty. It's been a difficulty for some time, and the most recent period that we've gone through with COVID-19, even though restrictions are now lifted, hasn't helped us in the terms of being able to bring drivers on board and being able to maintain adequate staffing. So there are a couple of impacts of recent history that I wanted to highlight. One is that COVID-19 really presented a lot of challenges to us. It was difficult to understand what we were working with at first. And then it was difficult to keep up with all the different ways that changes occurred. The Ready Schools Safe Learners document that many of you are familiar with was the guidance document that Oregon Department of Education put out to make sure that everyone had a single reference they could go to for questions about how to operate in the time of the pandemic. That has evolved now to become the Ready Schools Safe Learners Resiliency Framework. Certainly the Oregon Department of Education website is the best place to go to find all the details on that. One of the things that remains is that school buses fall under, for the purposes of the CDC, Center for Disease Control, school buses fall under the heading of public transit. And so occupants are expected to wear masks under the CDC order, and operators are expected to wear masks under the CDC order. And that's something that still stands to this day. We're waiting to find out if updates to that guidance will occur, but so far we haven't heard changes. And so that is one more thing that is different about riding the school bus than it used to be. I think one of the biggest questions that's interesting to me about the Safe Routes program is figuring out how, in light of driver shortages and the difficulties that districts and operations face when they're trying to maintain adequate staffing, is how can some of the active transportation options that exist alleviate some of that burden while drivers are in short supply and districts and training supervisors are working hard to bring people on board. Is there a way, especially in these shoulder seasons of nicer weather, warmer weather, drier weather, is there a way that this active transportation can alleviate some of the burden on the transportation operation to allow them to serve the folks who need school bus transportation most, while those who are able and equipped to either walk or roll to school can use those services? I think there are good ways that can happen, and there are confusing ways that can happen. And I think one thing to think about is that it's easier for someone to walk or roll to school when it is nice weather out than it is in the middle of winter. And so I don't think that every active transportation option can be a permanent solution, but I do think it's worth thinking about with the various challenges that operations face to figure out how can we work on some of this? How can we make folks available and knowledgeable about all of the options they have for safely getting to school that might not involve the school bus, and how can that help the logistics of transportation departments? I bring this up not because I have perfect answers to those solutions, but I think it's important to ask the question, particularly approaching this fall with the shortages that may exist in staffing, and being able to say, we want to work together with all of our community partners to figure out how we can fill these gaps and how we can make the best options available to anyone who needs them. So that's just an overview of school bus. School bus has been around for a long time. I expect that it will remain, and I think it's nice to be able to share both the needs and the resources that school bus operations bring to our school districts. So I am always interested in connecting with folks, and we'll share our contact information later on. But at this point, I will turn it over, and we'll introduce a few guest speakers we've invited to talk about some of the other options that we have when it comes to active transportation. So I will introduce Sydney Herbst. Sydney works for Alta. It's a planning and consulting firm. It's done a lot of work with the Safe Routes to School program as a school pool expert. So she's going to tell us a little bit more about school pools and how you can leverage their resources to get one started in your area. So Sydney, go ahead.
Thanks, Brock. Hi, everyone. My name is Sydney Herbst. I help manage the statewide ride matching and trip planning platform called Get There Oregon, which is a program and web platform that's funded by the Oregon Department of Transportation. Recently, we launched the school pool feature within Get There Oregon's platform. So we've been piloting the feature with a school to just get more comfortable using it, but I help manage the back end of that. So the school pool feature lets parents of students connect and form transportation networks. So it makes it easier for parents and students to reduce their carbon footprint, socialize with friends and family, and decrease the stress that comes from limited transportation options for getting to school. So the tool itself is just a way that can help parents visualize where these nearby households are that they could potentially carpool with. Once all of the households are in the system, you see this awesome map that shows your location and then nearby students and families' locations that you could connect with and then share the ride to school. And it also will show you, it has an algorithm that figures out the best matches for the most efficient ride. So there's a few different models for using the school pool tool, and they're opt-in models. So one is where a school representative can upload all the household rosters into it, and then it kind of automatically populates. Or there's also a join link that could be sent out to all parents in the school so that they can join and then view the different households. So there are a few steps to take before just participating in the school pool feature. If you're interested, there is a good introductory webinar at getthereoregon.org, and I can go ahead and put that link in the chat. And otherwise, if you're interested, you can email info@getthereoregon.org. Me and a colleague manage that email, and we'll be able to connect you with the right statewide partner and just get you started on that process. So yeah, I'll drop those links in the chat, but feel free to follow up with any questions. Thanks.
And Heidi, I'm going to ask you to do the classic pandemic era maneuver. Unmuting. Thank you.
Thank you, Brock. Thank you for keeping me in line here. Thank you, Sydney, for that information. We'll move to our next speaker, Emily Dugan. She's one of our technical assistance team members. She's a project and administration coordinator with Commute Options. She helps to implement the Safe Routes to School projects in Central and Eastern and Southern Oregon. She will be introducing Park and Walks today. Emily?
Awesome. Thank you so much, Heidi. Yeah, my name's Emily. Thank you everyone for coming and attending this webinar. I'm excited to talk to you today about Park and Walks. So Park and Walk is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. Families park at a predetermined location. That could be a park, that could be a library, a market, or a coffee shop, you know, so that the adults can get coffee before they go on the walk. And then everyone walks to school together. It's a great way to allow some social time between school families before school starts, and you can really make it a fun event. I tried to make that joke about coffee shops, but it's a real thing that you can do. A few years ago, before my time with Commute Options, we hosted a Park and Walk, and folks parked at this market a few blocks away from an elementary school, and they were able to get in-kind donations from that market. So they got things like hot chocolate and little goodies for the students and for the parents. So it can really become a very collaborative community event if you want it to. And in addition to really reducing the amount of pollution and congestion and traffic right outside the school door, where that's your place of work or the student's place of learning, it also offers a really simple way to get students and families thinking about walking at least part of the way to school. I know for a lot of rural areas, it's difficult to really start on just, you know, completely biking or completely walking to school, because there aren't really those, there isn't the infrastructure, or there aren't the routes already there for students to actually be walking or biking the entire way. So this creates just kind of a simple, nice, easy way into actually getting kids thinking about going to school in different ways. And again, you can make it just a really fun community event. That event that Commute Options did a few years ago, I heard that there was people in crazy costumes and people walking around on stilts. I'm assuming the adults, not the students, but just again, a fun way for families to interact and really get energized before school while walking there, and getting those benefits of not having so much congestion, but really energizing students. So if you're interested in getting a Park and Walk in your school district or one of your schools, a great way to do that is to contact your Safe Routes to School coordinator. Heidi will be giving information on how you can do that at the end of the presentation. Or if you don't yet have a coordinator for your district, you can go ahead and contact your hub leaders, which Heidi will also tell you how to do that. So thank you so much, and I'll turn it over to the next presenter.
Thank you, Emily. We're going to introduce, and I got to apologize because I didn't ask for pronunciation ahead of time. So is it Leah Beato? Did I say that correctly? All right.
Leah Beato.
Beato. Thank you. Appreciate that. And my apologies. Leah works for the Beaverton School District as the Safe Routes to School coordinator at the district, and she is going to share her expertise and tell us about walking school buses.
Thanks, Brock. So my name's Leah Beato Lewis, and I work for the Beaverton School District as the Safe Routes to School coordinator. We're the third largest district in the state of Oregon. We have 34 elementary schools, 8 middle schools, and 6 comprehensive high schools. And just as a little bit of background, our Safe Routes to School program has grown steadily within this district over the past 13 years. It started off as a small program just coordinating activities at 1 or 2 schools, and it's now grown to include a comprehensive district-wide program with a focus on our Title I elementary schools. So today I'm sharing information about our walking school bus program. For those unfamiliar, walking school bus is simply a group of students walking together, and usually accompanied by 2 or more adults. Our walking school bus program here is dependent upon our volunteers who coordinate individual programs at our elementary school sites. We provide the training, walking vests, we assist with the initial coordination, so things like creating routes and maps, start times, and promoting the event to their school community. Some of our walking school bus programs meet just once a month, and others meet as often as twice a week. Our founding walking school bus program started 12 years ago at Sexton Mountain Elementary, and it began with just 1 teacher, 1 parent, and 3 students who met once a week to walk together. That program now runs twice a week. It averages 30 to 40 students, rain or shine. And on event days, that number can grow to over 200 participants. So I wanted to just list a few factors that I feel have made this particular program really successful. Number 1 would be their meeting location. This program was able to select a meeting location at a local supermarket. This allows for easy access for parents who are dropping students off. It also has an optional undercover area, which is a nice place for students to assemble on our rainy days. Number 2, dedicated volunteers. The same 2 teachers have been consistently volunteering for this program for over 10 years. And several parents also assist each week. And this really allows for the flexibility when a volunteer is sick or can't make it. The program doesn't stop, it can keep running. And then lastly, consistency. Time really has allowed this program to flourish. Parents can rely on it. Many families that live along the route now know when they can just hop out their front door and join in on the walking school bus. So our schools with a walking school bus program have seen an increase in their active transportation rate and a higher percentage of students engaged with the Safe Routes to School program as a whole. The walking school bus program fosters an active community. It really allows the ability to engage those families who don't have time to walk with their child to school and they don't feel comfortable having their child walk alone. The program also normalizes walking in all weather conditions. Students show up prepared with their umbrellas and rain boots, and they see adults modeling the ability and the desire to walk even when it's rainy. So my advice to those interested in starting a walking school bus is always persistence. I've seen programs start and not get a lot of participation and just fade away, but I try to remind them that if they keep showing up, more families will hear about the program, and with that consistency, they'll begin to really rely and count on it being there. Like the previous presenter mentioned, if you're interested in starting a walking school bus, I always encourage you to reach out to your local Safe Routes to School coordinator, and if you don't have one, then reach out to your regional hub person. There are a lot of resources out there for this type of program. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Leah. If you haven't seen a walking school bus in your community, you're in for a treat when you do see one. They're really cute and fun to see the students and families engaged. But also bike trains are just as cute and fun to see too. So we'll move to the next slide, please. So I can introduce Whitney. So Whitney, oh, thank you. So Whitney is another Safe Routes to School technical assistance partner as well. She works for Commute Options, and she's here to talk to us about bike trains, which is a great way to get students rolling to school. Whitney?
Yeah, thanks, Heidi. Yep, I'm Whitney Bennett. I'm the Safe Routes to School coordinator with Commute Options, and I am working with schools across Central Oregon. So a little about bike trains. So bike trains really coincides well with walking school bus because the model really folds, it aligns exactly how Leah described. Setting up a walking school bus is similar as setting up a bicycle train. So similarly defined, a bicycle train is a group of students accompanied by adults that take a pre-planned route to school. So these routes can be a little bit longer routes than a walking school bus route, because you imagine being on bicycles, it can allow for a farther distance. So it can be set 1.5 miles or even up to 2 miles plus out, depending on the experience of the riders and you know, who's making up your group. And another part about these bike trains is they can be structured similar to the walking school bus. And so having that defined meeting place and having a process where you have permission slips and then you have people that are registered, but also can be unstructured. So this picture that you see on this slide is my bike train group that I kind of informally formed in my cohort during COVID. And this was close to Halloween and everyone dressed up in their costumes, superhero themed, and we took the bike train to get lunch on a Wednesday where they had the school lunch site. So it can be that way because when you're getting people on bikes, it does take a little bit more coordination. So a kind of casual one is a really good way to start this momentum forward into forming these, and having people actually see these groups going together to school is good for motivation. So similarly with the walking school bus, they really help to address parents' concerns about traffic and personal safety while providing a chance for parents and children to really socialize and chat before going to school. It's also a really amazing opportunity to introduce bike safety and allow them to practice and learn skills, and then maybe also, if there's a Safe Routes to School program in their school and they're getting these experiences where there's a coordinator that's actually teaching them bike safety, to be out and using it to get to and from school is a really great way to concrete some of these safety skills. So that said, informing these, if it is structured, and the way we've done them in the past is to have a defined leader, and having volunteers and having that set is a really great way. An even better and more powerful way is actually to have paid leaders, which is another kind of format of the program that can apply both to these bike trains or to a walking school bus. But once you get a paid leader in place, what you have is a really consistent, well-organized program. It just takes a lot more, it takes a lot of management, but it does help with the survival and the sustainability of the bike train. A couple of essential pieces to help with the success of a bike train is one, to have a pre-planned route. So one of the things we do at Commute Options is actually put together a lot of routes around the schools that we work with, and these are recommended routes that can be turned into a walking school bus route or a bike train route. And so having these maps and these routes pre-organized is essential so that everyone could be prepared for where they're going. And also another piece that's important specific to the bike train is mode consistency. So if you add in students on bikes and students walking at the same time, it can get a little hectic and they can be hard to manage. So it's good to put everyone on wheels. And even in adding in, say, people on scooters with people on bikes can also be somewhat challenging depending on the terrain that you're going over. For if you were to have some gravelly route portions and people are on scooters, it's a lot trickier. So you might lose some of your participants. So thinking about that and that you can get everybody on bikes is an essential piece. And then lastly, just making sure that the leader is equipped with helmets. Helmets would be required, and you kind of need, it's helpful to have some backup helmets on hand in case a student shows up without a properly fitted helmet. Other things that essential is maybe a patch kit and a few bike tools, because you did have just extra gear that when compared to walking. So ultimately, these are really fantastic when it comes to getting students a little bit more exercise on their way to and from school, and also teaching that a bicycle is a means of transportation and it's fun and it gives you freedom. And so these bike trains can really help to solidify that for students and for families. So thank you.
Thank you, Whitney. All right. So we're going to move forward to our question and answer session. And we invite you to ask any question that you have right now. We'll do our best to answer them. Any of the speakers will be able to answer them. And if we can't, we will make sure to get back to you. So I'm going to let, is it Kaylin? Did you want to let us know any questions that have come up?
Gladly. So we had one question about when and where the Drive Like It materials would be available.
Yes, so I didn't want to miss this opportunity to not tell you about the Drive Like It campaign. I thought this would be a great way to start spreading the message early. However, we do not have the materials ready for you yet. We're working on those in the next couple of weeks. But I will make sure to send an email out to this list of people who have signed up, as well as posting it on our newsletter and our other social media and website. We'll have it available on our OregonSafeRoutes.org website. So it's just a little early. We don't have them quite ready yet. We have to get it organized on our website and available. But I did want to tell you that this is a campaign that we have coming out in the fall. And any other question? I think there's someone with their hand up. Kim?
Hi, I'm wondering if Safe Routes to School is getting involved in homeless camp issues on the Safe Routes to School routes. Mainly, there's a bunch of camps on Powell frontage roads that will affect kids that need to cross Powell to go to Kellogg and Franklin.
Yeah, thank you, Kim. That I'm not sure in that specific area of which coordinators would be working, if there is a coordinator on that area that could speak to that. Is there any coordinator on the call in that area?
Hi, Heidi, this is Janice.
Oh, thank you, Janice. Do you have anything that you can add to help, Kim?
Let me get rid of the echo.
Okay. I think Janice is having some difficulty.
Sorry, I had you also on my iPad.
Okay.
So Kim, if you want to reach out to me, and I can put my email in there, we are working with schools and school districts around the homeless camps. Also, you're with PPS, right?
I am a parent and a neighborhood coordinator for Safe Routes to School.
Okay. So yeah, if you want to email me, I can work with you on that. PPS has a staff person within the school district, and the city has a staff person that I can connect you with.
Well, thank you so much. And can you put your email address in the chat, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Janice. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Kim, Janice is with the Portland Bureau of Transportation, so she'll be putting her email address in there for you. Any other questions right now?
I wanted to highlight the one that showed up in the chat here about groups that implement a walking school bus or bike train, whether they require, oh, I'm sorry, that's the wrong one. I was looking at a different question. That'll be a good question too. But the one I was looking at was whether there are background checks involved with volunteers. And so Whitney just shared with Commute Options that they have a background check process that mirrors the background check required by the school district. it comes down to whether the school is offering an official school-based program, whether the volunteer would be considered to be a volunteer of the school district. If that's the case, then they would have a background clearance that's required through the school district. But Whitney shared that they also have the background check for their program.
I'll speak for Beaverton School District. Our volunteers are also registered through their school that they're volunteering with. So it goes through the district background check. And then I'll speak to that next one about whether they were wanting to know whether we require like a parent-child consent form for walking school bus or bike trains. And for our district, we do not, since these are volunteer led, we don't require those consent forms. It's not considered a district program. It's considered voluntary, kind of coordinated, usually through our PTOs, even though we have several teachers who are volunteering for those.
And I can just add from this end, because we're not, our program sits outside of the school, so we don't use school teachers at this time the way it runs. And so we do require consent forms, and also because we do have sometimes paid leaders, sometimes volunteer leaders, but in general, consent forms and registration is required for students to join either the bike train or the walking school buses.
Okay, thank you, Whitney. Are there any other questions for any other presenters or anything about Safe Routes to School or anything that I presented on the education program? Is there anything else in the chat that we missed? I want to make sure everyone was heard that had a question.
It looks like you got them all, Heidi.
Okay. Well, I think we can move forward. If you do have questions, there'll be some contact information to ask us as you start maybe talking with people in your district or folks that you work with. You may have some implementation questions as you go along the way of maybe trying to figure out how to organize this. And maybe if you can't do it this time around as school is starting, maybe throughout the year, thinking about that as well. So we are definitely a resource to help guide any folks that are wanting to implement these and have questions. Speaking about guiding, you know, we do have some coordinators through our Safe Routes to School education grants, the competitive grants that I mentioned earlier. We do fund coordinator positions, which is where many of the folks that are on this call today have been funded at some point or are funded right now. And so the coordinator does a lot of work in the community to put some of these programs into play and does a lot of coordinating between parents and school staff and community planners and engineering. And so there are coordinators possibly in your area. If so, any of these resources we would advise you to go to them first because they may already be working on these and can help you with it. But secondly, if you don't have a coordinator or know if you do in your area, you can contact our Safe Routes to School hub coordinators. So right now we have 3 hubs that can offer some technical assistance or at least give you some guidance and maybe connect you with folks in your area that are doing these things. And so we have one in the dark blue area, Portland metro area, and her name is Lindsay Huber. And in the Willamette Valley and Coast is our Alta Planning and Design, who are part of our technical assistance team as well. And then lastly, Commute Options is working with Central, Eastern, and Southern Oregon. So eventually we're looking to expand these hubs to offer more hubs, but the 3 right now are what we're using to kind of pilot this assistance. So just to give you an idea of some of the assistance that you can get in your areas. Okay, so we'll move to the next slide, I think is our last poll. We just want to know what you're most excited about. So if you can select your top 2 of what we talked today about things that you might want to implement or do more of if you already do some of these. Just like to take a barometer reading of interest in these items. Walking school bus is winning. Thank you for your input. This is helpful for us to know where we should focus on more resources or outreach on these activities. So it looks like we have quite a bit of interest in all the areas, so it's nice to see that. You can pick up to 2, please.
And I wonder if the walking school bus is the most popular because it says school bus in the title. I'm just speculating.
Of course you would say that, right, Brock?
But all joking aside, there are a lot of great options out there to help coordinate different kinds of active transportation or partial active transportation options for folks to get to school.
Yeah, and during the COVID-19 hybrid, we did see even nationally, as well as in the state, even smaller walking pods is what they call them, which are smaller kind of school buses where you kind of have just a group of friends or maybe a couple families who have podded together to do walking school buses. And so it's kind of a nice way to switch off between parents or someone in the neighborhood. So there's ways to do these things on a smaller scale if you haven't quite worked up to larger walking buses or bike trains. Well, okay, we will close the poll. And I will move on to talking a little bit more about our resources that I've mentioned earlier. I will place our website in the chat for those that just want quick access now. But I will also let you know we have quite a few resources that I already mentioned, and one is this school commutes one-pager that was designed to kind of outline the options that were discussed today. These are one-pagers that you can print out and give to folks maybe in a staff meeting or in thinking about maybe trying to implement some of these ideas in your work. So we have this one-pager available, which we will send, and then also too, we'll have this available on the website, and I think it'll be clickable maybe on this presentation when we send it out. So this one-pager is a nice way to help you get the message out or to organize these ideas in a way to let others know. Also too, you can send them this the recording of this. And then also to make sure you reach out to your Safe Routes to School coordinators at your school and see how you guys can coordinate and work together on this. We would advise you to do that first because the coordinators have that specific expertise in your area that can help you. And then you're not trying to reinvent the wheel, so to speak. And so, but lastly, you can have access to our regional hubs as support as well. If you don't have a coordinator or there's not one that is funded in your area, and that is through our website and under the contact information. Also too, just a little plug extra for our webpage in that we are putting all sorts of resources, constantly updating it. We're doing a refresh of the website this next year. We you can sign up for our newsletter, which is a great way to stay in touch with Safe Routes to School programs and grant opportunities. Our monthly newsletter is a way to do that, but also too, we have social media that you can sign up for too and follow. And the social media posts are nice because you can repost them in your communities. And also too, lastly, I wanted to have Brock talk about his Department of Education resources. Do you want to talk about your page?
Definitely, yeah. We have a people transportation and fingerprinting section of the Oregon Department of Education website, and just about anything you need for your operation is there. So if you are involved in a people transportation operation somewhere in Oregon, if you can't find what you need there, let me know and I'm happy to point you toward it.
And thank you, Brock. And lastly, I'm posting in the chat the website that you can go to here at ODOT that you can click on, and it will take you to the order form where you can order some of our printed materials. You can also get access to digital only. Some of our materials are just digital only materials, but they might be helpful for you as well. So you would just download the or click on the order form and then fill that in. So these are just ways to kind of get out to you what we have available. Is there any final questions, things people have thought of before we close off? All right. Well, we appreciate all of you guys attending. We want to thank all the speakers for coming out today. I know we took people's lunchtime from them. Hopefully you got a bite to eat while you're listening to the show here. Again, this is our contact information. And Brock, did you want to add anything final?
Just to say that I'm a much bigger fan of answers than I am of questions. So if you have a question, let's find an answer. I'm always happy to correspond. You've got my email there, and I'll be happy to chat with you anytime.
Thank you, everyone, and we appreciate your interest. We will definitely follow up with a follow-up email and survey to ask for your feedback and give you some information. So thank you so much, and goodbye, everyone.
Yeah, best wishes in your planning for the fall.